Hello and welcome to the what we're going to call Fireside Chats. We're having a bit of a book tour and a bit of a book launch or a bit of a book excursion. So we're here today with the Liam O'Neill. So first of all, hello Neil or Liam.
Hello, Pete. Thank you for having me on your excursion.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. So I mean, really, first of all, is it's great to have you on. You have written a book
I have.
quite some time ago, and we thought, with what a great opportunity to actually pull it apart and see what's in between the pages. Does that
Cool.
sound like a fair thing to do?
Yes, I'm ready. Yep.
So the title is Limitation Is A Mirage. So
Which is
first of all,
genius.
it is genius. Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, break that down first so that people that do actually understand what it's all about.
So, Limitation Is A Mirage spells out my name, first of all. When I did the TED Talk, which is today, about 5 years ago, I discovered on Facebook today. That was like the opening of my talk. So I had planned to use that to like bring everything together. But the idea was I wanted to teach a book about how I believe you can be and do whatever you want in life, and like the limitations are invented by your mind. Like you make them up. You tell yourself you can't do things that people have repeatedly done before you and will do after you, but for some reason you are incapable. So that's kind of where the limitation idea came from, and then playing around with words. Limitations is a mirage appeared, and I just loved it. So went with that. Your personal journey to a life without limits. This is the new cover. This was the original cover when it first came out. So the reason that I changed the cover, in case you're wondering, is people kept asking me at talks, is it all about fighting? The whole time, like, is it all about fighting? And I would, whenever you sort of you're so deep in a project that you get like project blind, I would be like, what are you talking about? Have you opened the book? There's nothing to do with fighting in this at all. And eventually it just clicked at an event. I was like, oh, I see, because I'm wearing a vest and throwing punches. It looks like it's about fighting, and I on stage talk about my 20 odd years of martial arts. So that's why I changed it. I still got a wee bit of, because the martial arts is in me. So this is me doing Tai Chi at the World Pole Dancing Championships where I was comparing, and the photo was nice, and I thought that's it. And then this picture behind is a friend of mine, Tony Moore, is a world class photographer. He's won everything that exists, and this is one of my favorite places to be in the world, Slaughan Glen. It's a waterfall you have to climb down to, so there never be anybody there. So if I want a bit of peace and quiet and water, so that is the where the idea of Limitation Is A Mirage came from, spelling my name, and the switching covers, why that exists.
Wow. So tell us, how did the idea for the book first come about?
So briefly, I had no schooling when I left school. Like I left school with nothing. I never learned anything. I wasn't allowed in half the classes. George's Marvelous Medicine was the first book I read when I was about 16. You're meant to read that. Like my wee nieces read that when she was about 6 or something. So I wasn't a scholar. I got into martial arts and I got into magic. So this is related because I ended up going to see a guy called Ian Rowland, who is a magician, mentalist, cold reader, speaker, and I loved his stuff. So I was like, right, I'm gonna go meet this guy. And I always use kung fu to open doors for me, not like in a karate sense where I like boot the door in. Like I would demonstrate something. So in the magic community, I had got a bit of a name for myself and what I do. So when I want to meet people, I want them to sit down and talk with me. So I find the easiest way to do that is to be interesting. So I broke a chopstick with my throat. We were doing a jamming session. Everybody was performing magic, and a lot of the wee kids up in Belfast were just better than me at sleight of hand and stuff, and it looked really impressive. And I knew Ian loved sleight of hand, so I was like, right, can't do that. I'll do something nobody else can do. So I broke a chopstick with my throat, and we ended up chatting. We got chatting about my life and what I've done, and he just suggested you should write a book. And I laughed it off, and then we spoke for a couple of weeks, and he was like, I'll help you. Just you need to get your teaching into book form. People will read it, people will learn and grow from it. So it came about through breaking a chopstick with my throat in front of a world class speaker. who is a ghostwriter and author, and he convinced, like, he's helped write these, and this is the first book I ever seen of his. That's the book that sold me on. It's a really good book there. Look, just at the side of it. I wrote a wee piece for this book as well. Great
It's a great
author.
book.
Pete, you should check it out. It's really good. But I wrote a wee bit in there too. This is my collection of books wrote by people I know. Which is mad when you think about 16-year-old kid leaving school, George's Marvelous Medicine, no writing, reading experience whatsoever. So I think that I like that story because it shows that limitations, like I had the limitation of I don't really read or write. I'm shit at this stuff. And visuals show me it, and I'll learn it, and I'll never forget it. Whereas now I can stand on stage and be like, I wrote this book. This is from my brain to there. So further proving that limitation is a mirage, which spells my name.
So that dropping of the seed, saying you should write a book, to then actually starting the process, how long did that take?
It took Ian about, I would say, 3 weeks to convince me I should do it. And then once he convinced me, I'm very much right, let's do this. So I wrote solid. This is mental. I wrote solid for about 4 weeks roughly, and came up about 60,000 words, and I still have them somewhere. We got talking, and Ian was explaining a few different things, and then I realized I was writing a book like I thought you should write a book, not like how I would write a book and how I would deliver my message and how it would be me. So we just scrapped that. So there's like 60,000 words scrapped. It was called the 6 Guiding Principles. I had 6 principles I always taught when I was teaching Kung Fu, and it was based on that. It still exists somewhere. I scrapped it, like just stopped working on it. I didn't just delete it all. I'm not that mental. Then we changed up the plan. So Ian sort of like interviewed me a wee bit on what would I teach if I was doing this? What would it be like if you were doing this? What are the things that you think people need to know? And then I just took notes as we did that, and then that was done for about, I would say, about 6 weeks back and forward, solid. And then I wrote like constantly. The hardest part was when I had everything written out, and Ian was like, "Right, now go take out the fluff, take out the waffle and the nonsense." And you're like, "I fucking spent ages writing this. This is all gold." But then when you start reading it, you realize sometimes you over explain things, and sometimes you go in a wee segue that's not needed. So all in all, it probably took me about, I'd say, about 3 months. And this isn't like 3 months of an hour here, an hour there. Like some days I was doing 12 hours sitting typing. Like I started, this is how long, like how much I was working. I started typing. I was shit on computers. Like I was a finger typer until like the end where I'm like typing away in. So I learned how to type off the side of it as well as a wee key skill that I've got now. So I would say that about 3 to 4 months, and then obviously all the back and forward and getting the cover designed and done, and like Ian did all of the stuff that I didn't know how to do and didn't want to know how to do, like layout of a book and dealing with getting it as a ebook and all that sort of stuff. That as soon as he started on that, I just switched off. So thankfully we had developed a great friendship by then, so he was happy to sort all that bit out for me. So really, without Ian, the book wouldn't exist at all. So I always try to give him as much credit as I can for not just the idea, but like sitting and listening to me waffle for months to create that.
That actual, did you enjoy it? Because I mean, to go from, as you say, it's go from where you were to actually writing a book. I mean, was it a case of once you decided, then it was done? It was just a case of how, or
Yeah, once Ian convinced me that was it, I was having a book. Like I started to, it's an Eric Thomas, one of my favorite speakers. He talks about he didn't write a book, he's an author. If you wrote a book, then you've only wrote a book, but if you're an author, then you write many books. So in my head, I was like, I'm an author now. Like this is me. I'm an author. Like when people ask me what I did, I would say, oh, I do this, and I'm an author as well. And I had so much trust in the, and this is something I've done, and you would hear about it in the book as well. When I decide to do anything or get good at anything, I find the top of the field and I convince them to work with me in it. So I'm working every day. I got to work with somebody who's the one of the best in the world, the best in the world at cold reading, and one of the best in many other subjects. So I'm like, this is a privilege to get to do this, and I'm an author, so I'm quite stubborn. So once it was agreed, then I'm like, this will be done. Like there's nothing will get even throwing away the 60,000 words. Like remember when I was at school and the teacher would say like you have to go and write a 201 word essay on something or a book report. I would be like, 200 words? Are you mental? The most words I ever wrote at school was lines. And even then, like I'd draw a straight line for I the whole way down the page. Like it was just terrible. So just to get to work with someone like that, and to get pushed in that way, I was like, yeah, this is getting done.
What did writing lines in school teach you?
It gets you out of class. If you be a bit of a dick for the first 5 minutes, they'll send you over the corner to write lines, and you just stand there. So that was before they used to kick me out of the class. That was part of what I did. Um, it literally taught me nothing. The school punishments taught me nothing. I remember being told I had to go to detention, and I never went. Detention, for anyone that doesn't know, is you be bad and they make you stay on in school for half an hour or an hour or whatever. I just didn't go, so they just kept giving me more detention, which it just was stupid. Like they're giving me more punishment of the thing I was already not doing. But then they changed it, and I didn't notice this till I was older. Instead, they told me that because of the way I was stubborn, I'd be really good at staying inside at lunchtime and opening the door for the teachers and keeping the other students out. So my actual punishment was not getting out to play for lunch, but I thought I was being rewarded, and that's sort of that calmed me down a wee bit in school because I seen a bit of worth. Oh well, I am a bit mental, but that mentalness keeps the other students out of the school because they don't know what I'm capable of doing. So I just let the teachers in; they all speak to me. They punished me by not letting me outside, but they did it in a different way. So I suppose if I learned anything from the punishments, it's that there's everyone is taught differently. I might teach the same 20 people how to count calories, and I might have to teach them 20 different ways to do the exact same thing. But being flexible like that makes it, that's why I have a book. It's why all this stuff exists, I suppose. So lines alone taught me nothing, but punishments in school taught me that.
So tell me, what was your intention with the book then? What did you want to achieve? Or
I just wanted to reach more people. Whenever I was working at the start, I was spread very thin. It wasn't as people were not as keen to jump online and work as groups. Everybody wanted one to one. So you're working and like especially in the martial arts and the personal training arena, you had to do an hour with people, which I never got why everybody needed an hour of exercise. Like some people could do with 10 minutes, and like Tony Robbins does a 10-minute morning workout every morning. Like there's people that run marathons, so they need like 4 to 5 hours training sometimes. So everyone's different. But back then everything was the same. So I just started to run out of time, and I want to help as many people as I can. And at that stage as well, I had a lot of like coaches asking me for advice and mentorship. So I thought if I put this into a book, I think this was actually how Ian sold it to me in the end up. If you have a book, you can just sell that to people. And again, like the book is not expensive. So I just want people to be able to get as much information as they can. And I want my ripple effect of helping people to spread out far and wide. So if I help a coach and then they help their clients through something they learned in my book, then I'm attached to that help. It's why the book exists as an audiobook. I had no intention of ever doing an audiobook ever. I remember chatting to a person, they just said how much effort it was, and I was like, well, fuck, I'm not doing that. I haven't the time. And at a talk, a guy said to me, loved your talk. I would love your book, but I can't read. That was it. That was all it came. All he said, and I was like, "Give me 3 months." I hadn't a clue how long it would take. I remember talking to you at one stage. I said, I'll do it in 2 weeks." I have a couple of days off this week. I'll record it all, and then I'll edit in the next 2 weeks. It took me about a month and a half solid on my own, like going through the whole thing. It was a nightmare to do. But when you listen to it, there's no way you would know I was having having a nightmare doing that. There was parts where I just couldn't even read anymore. It's like can't even read my own words. Looking at myself, going, that's not a word. Is that a word? So I just want to help people, and that's why it turned into an audiobook as well. Because it's like, right, that guy wants to improve himself, wants to help himself. He wants to read my book. He can't read. I can't sit down and teach him how to fucking read. So I'm just going to read it once myself for him, and then he can have it. And 3 months later, I just sent him a message and was like, "Here's my audiobook." And then I put it on Audacity. I made it with Audacity. I put it on Audible. Um, Audacity was a nightmare during all that, but I did it. That's where the stubbornness helped, or consistency, or whatever you want to call it. So I just want to help. I just want people to improve their life. And there's some people that are happy to come and talk to other people, and there's other people that just want to sit and read a book. But I designed it specifically not to be a shelf help. I don't want it to sit there and be like, I've got that. Oh, I've got that book. Like, it's the first thing. If you ever tell me you have my book, what's your favorite part? Oh, I like the way it looks on my shelf. Yeah, brilliant. It's the type of book that you could get something from it. So, say if you do the mobility part of the book, you could learn the mobility stuff and move around, and then go away, and then like a month later come back and look at that and be able to just like see your improvement massively from that. The relationship stuff, you'll start to implement wee bits and pieces, and then you start to realize what your boundaries are, what you want out of relationships. You're able to then go back to the book and read it again and go, oh, now I have a better understanding of what he meant by that. So it's the type of book I want people to go back to, and it's one of my favorite comments about the book when people talk about it is, yeah, I love just checking back. My book's dog-eared, and it's I want it dog-eared, highlighted. Like, this one is my shelf version, so it's just out of the box. Like, I don't want that to be yours. I want yours to have highlighter, dog-eared. Like, you can buy two if you want and have one pristine on your shelf and then the other one everywhere. But that's what I want out of the book. And a lot of time, like, because of the book shelf, I'll buy like one or two copies because I like that to look good on my shelf. Not that it doesn't, because I've moved everything, but and then like the shelf that's out of shot, you can sort of see it in the shot now. So like, these are the books that I'm going through, and I throw them in the corner, and like, they're everywhere. So, um, like, this is a book that's in my corner, in my bottom shelf.
Good
That
book.
that's been going through. Um, so I want it to be a book that people come back to, that they can check back in all the time. So the intention was just to help people, and I reach more people by making it easier to access me than trying to get hours with everyone every single time.
So our intention here is to really just sort of pull the book apart, and we have the luxury of having, you know, yourself to sit down and not to read through the book per se, but to take the chapter, to understand any principles and make sure we've properly gathered those chapter by chapter. Take a chapter, more or less a chapter per week, and like I say, pull it apart, see what's there, understand, you know, your take on it, your intention here. What are the key highlights for us to take away? And allowing people to really to read along at the same time, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not just about reading front to back and saying yes, great, done. This is about really trying to distill the information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think this will be a perfect time for people to restart it. Or if you have had it and you just haven't got around to starting, now you're going to be able to read it and watch along with these videos and go, oh, that's what I took from it, or fuck, I overlooked that completely, but that makes perfect sense. So it's something that I do when I read, and I'm lucky in this wee section here, I can phone the author and be like, what the fuck did you mean here? And then they'll go, oh, I meant this. I go, that's not what I was taking from it, and then we can converse about it. So that's kind of the opportunity as well that people are going to get here, is going, right, I read that, like, they can comment on it or just say, this is what I took from it, or Could you elaborate a wee bit more on this? Or if we overlook something that they focus on, they can ask about it as well. So it's like the way I was thinking about it when we talked about this, it's almost like a training course that comes with a book, like just more in depth than the book alone.
Yeah, I think it's great. Exactly, and it's that chance for people to follow along at the same time and really to to go through it. I think it makes a lot of sense. Tell me this. I mean, with the titles the titles of each chapter you've started all of them with I'll prove you. What
Yeah.
was the intention behind that?
I started working as the prove it guy because I would do a lot of crazy stuff, and like I would do the martial arts stuff. I would like challenge something. I might do like 500 squats a day for a month, or 1,000 push-ups a day, or whatever. And I get sick of people saying stuff like, I know, but that's you. And I would say to people all the time, well, I'm not special. I'm just willing to put the work in. And if you're willing to put the work in as well, you can achieve this. Like I'll prove it to you. Or I would do something and someone would say, oh, prove it. And I go, oh, I'm going to go and do 1,000 push-ups today. Prove it. And I'm like, well, fuck me. And I'll video it. I'll do some stuff. So it came about from people asking me to prove things all the time, and from me saying I can prove that you can do this. Like you can be super confident, and if you give me the opportunity, I'll prove it to you. So that's where that came from, the whole prove it guy thing, because people would say I was special, and again, this is where ego comes in. People, when I tell a story on stage and stuff, sometimes people go, "But egotistical there." It wasn't I was special to like inflate my ego. They weren't like, "Oh, Liam, you're special, you're amazing, you're like the whole thing now is superhuman." Like I talk about it all the time. So it wasn't about me being awesome and special and them saying I was deadly. It was really about them not believing in themselves, not willing to try. So they need an excuse. Well, I couldn't. He can do it because he's got 20 years of martial arts. He meditates every day. He is fucking mental, so he's going to be able to do this. I'm not like that, so I couldn't. So it wasn't about building me up, it was about keeping yourselves down. So that's where the prove it guy came from. Look, if you give me the opportunity, I will help you. I'll prove that you can overcome your self-limiting beliefs. I'll prove you can scale new heights. I'll prove you can be more mobile. Like I would work with people and I'd be doing corporate stuff, and they would be like, it's easy for you. You can get up and walk about all day. I'm stuck behind a desk. And like in the book, there's a section on mobility in the office. And I go, I can prove you be mobile now. And like, show me you trying to touch your toes. Can't touch my toes. Do these 4 things. Do it now. Yeah. You're like, it's not about, like, that's not a fix forever. That's just a fix for then and there. But it proves that they can move and get something out of it. Like I've had it on stage where it's easy for you. You're on the stage, and bring people up on the stage with me. Like, well, what would you say if you're up here? Let's go. Like, if you have a message, deliver it. If you want to deliver it, do it. I've had people on stage, and I've given them free rein to try to punch me in the head to prove that the limiting belief of them on not being able to punch me in the head because their belief in my martial art ability, just because I said I have 20 years of martial arts, that doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to punch me in the head if I don't move. But it's never happened, and I'll probably never do it again now because I'm saying it out loud and people will know. But I have literally stood and said, I'm not going to move. You can punch me square in the face. I allow you free rein. Tell security, everyone, free rein. And they throw like and they don't hit me. I've never been hit. I'm never doing this again now that I've done this live on camera, because I'll definitely get punched. I never get hit. And it's not because I move or I stop or I have some sort of fucking magical force field. It's because they don't before they even start, they believe they're going to fail. I am a 20-year veteran of martial arts. I'm going to block this. So then they don't even try. So the prove it guy came from all of that. Like everything I do, you can do it as well. Like I don't claim to have any mystical abilities. Like I've trained with mystics, with gurus, with masters, with fucking loads of people that at the start I'm told, if you ever get to train with this guy, you're gonna learn like to fucking float or whatever. Like you're gonna learn the secrets, and you get there and you're like, all right, there is no secret, it's just hard work. Everything's just putting the effort in. So that's where the prove it guy came from. I was just sick of people using me as an excuse for them not trying or succeeding. So I was like, look, give me an opportunity. I'll prove that you that you can. So even when I came full circle and came back to this with COVID closing everything down for me, just with weight loss, like I have people in my group that are lighter than they've ever been in their life since they've started weighing themselves, and they keep coming back with, it's not, I, the last time I tried to lose weight, it was really difficult and I hated it and I struggled. And you're like, yeah, that's because you did stupid shit trying to achieve unrealistic goals. I am teaching you things that are lifelong that you can do forever. I use the line a lot. Like if I die tomorrow and you just keep doing what I've told you to do, you'll be fine. You'll miss me and all because I'm awesome, but apart from that, you'll be fine and you'll be able to achieve. So the idea behind the book was that if all you had was this book and you implemented all the stuff, you could become a prove person. You could be and do whatever you want in life, and that's where the Prove It guy came from, in a nutshell.
Very big nut, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like it. I mean, it's because it sounds like obviously you start off by proving it one to yourself. And as you say,
Yeah.
then people go, yeah, it's okay for you. So then you got to go, okay, I now need to not only prove it to myself, but then I need to prove it to you, or to let you prove it to yourself that you can do it too, right? So it's sort of becoming, learning yourself and then becoming the teacher to saying, yeah, it's not about what I know, it's about what you know. And
Yeah. I think a true master, like again a kung fu term, but a true master is someone that can teach. That's, I know lots of people that can do, and if you say to them, go and teach them how to do that, they would be like, what are you talking about? You just do this. Like I would, all the micro steps you're taking to get to that final position, nobody can see them except you until you explain it. So I always wanted to get to the point, like if I had a mentor, I didn't just read what the mentor told me to read. I read what they were reading. So I would ask them, what are you studying? What are you reading? What are you looking into? So I would know not only where I am, but where I'm going. And then once I get there, I can build even further on that. It's why most of the mentors I work with became friends rather than just being like there's no pedestals where I am. I try to, like, you hear the way I talk. I'm very open and honest, and I curse. I just talk the way I would talk if you met me in real life, because I don't want you to think, again, back to the proving guy thing. I don't want you to think, oh, he's special. I want it to be, this guy is just doing the stuff he says he's doing. Why can I tell you it's easy to meditate and you can consistently meditate for forever if you want? Because I meditate 3 times a day and have done for the guts of, I've been meditating for just over 20 years since I started martial arts, but I had to, it was just part of it. You were just told, and I used to sit there and be like, fucking stupid meditating. Such a waste of time. I could be punching that thing or kicking that thing, and I just had to do it. I obviously didn't say any of that out loud because I would have got hammered. But now I realize the benefit of it over time, but I've been tracking my meditation. I meditate 3 times a day for about 16 years, like without missing a day. So you can't tell me it's not possible because I've done it. I would never tell you to do anything I've never tried to do. Like my first ever competition in Chinese kickboxing wasn't because I wanted to be a competitor. It was because my students kept saying, "What's it like to compete?" And I'd go, "Don't know." So then one day I was like, "Fuck's sake, I'm gonna have to compete so I can answer this." And I remember just saying to Ian, when's the next tournament? I'd been in England about 2.5 weeks, and I was then in my first ever British Championships for Chinese kickboxing. I'd only been doing Chinese kickboxing 3.5 weeks. Like, here we are, because I wanted to know what it was like to compete, so I could say to the students, "It's like this. This is how the day unfolds. This is what it's like." So I would never suggest you do anything I wouldn't be willing to do, which I think is what makes me good at what I do, because you either know I've already done it before you, or I would do it beside you.
and as you say, people aren't going to question that either because your intention is there.
Mm-hmm.
And also you're a man of your word, but also that you're not afraid of the hard work, you're not afraid of
Yeah.
giving it a whirl, trying it, and there's a lot to be said for that,
Yeah.
so
It's something I try to do a lot. Like even when I became a magician initially, that was just Steve, who I lived with, showed me some magic, taught me some magic, and then like a couple of years later, I'm running my own magic course and I'm consulting for TV shows and stuff. That doesn't come about by accident. That comes about because I find the best in the world. I convince them that I'm awesome and they should be my friend. And then I train with them and I learn and I study and I offer and like I try to get this across to my group all the time and my clients. I do not keep anything back. I don't hide anything. I remember when I studied kung fu and the masters would hide wee secret techniques, how to get out of stuff. They wouldn't teach how to get out of certain moves, so they always looked better. So if they got tangled, the person would put them in the move. They would get out, or they'd have a wee pressure point, or something that just gets them out of baller. I don't have any of that. Like I teach, which is weird. One of my favorite kung fu sayings is, "The tiger never taught the cat everything." It's about like a tiger and cat in a fight, and a tiger climbs a tree, and the cat doesn't know how to. Which doesn't make sense because cats get up trees all the time. Firemen always have to get them down, so it didn't teach them how to get down the tree. But you know what I mean? And that was something that used to come up a lot. Like don't show them everything. If you're doing like magic and we do jamming sessions, don't show them how you did that. I just want people to learn and grow and improve. So I don't care if I teach you a technique and you use it, that's me helping the people who use it on. If I teach you a magic routine and you do it on stage, that's me entertaining the audience. Like that's for me, it's all about the more people I help, the more, even if they just bring enjoyment. Like that's why I stuck with magic. One of the first times I performed, a guy cried. And I was like, fuck's sake, what is this about? I'm used to people crying in my therapy room, but why are you crying? I just did a magic trick. And he cried because he was like, that 5 minute routine that you did was the first time in months where I forgot about my life. And he was going through some shit at the time, and he was like, I forgot all about it. Like that has been on my mind 24/7 for 5 minutes. I'm standing holding a bent coin. I don't know how the fuck you bent the coin, but it was in my hand, and then it's just like now it's bent. But I wasn't thinking about my life. Like that suspension of disbelief for him not only just was a magic routine, but it was an escape from his life. And then being the person that I'm in, I turned it into a, well, if you could do that just by that, imagine if you went out for a walk with that intention. Imagine if you meditated with that intention. Imagine if you did X, Y, Z. And he ended up working with me for a while, just off the back of doing magic. So everything that I do is about trying to help people and create a ripple effect beyond just me. And I don't care if someone learns something of mine, uses it, and never gives me any credit for it at all. It doesn't matter to me because I know what I teach is good. And if they use it right, it's going to help the people around them. So I'd much rather that person's helped by someone that they fully believe in, that invented it or whatever way they put it, than them think, well, I wish I had went to Liam if he's the inventor of it or whatever the fuck way they want to put it. I don't care. I just want people, I want everybody to get better at what they do and do what they love and just help people. That's how fucking Miss America was that.
Very, very Miss America. No, it's true. I mean, it's being of service, right? You know, it's no matter what, it's sort of helping people to help themselves. So,
Yeah.
what do you know any good jokes?
Knock knock. No, jokes are not my forte. I'm more of a storyteller than a jokerist.
Right,
I have a riddle. My favorite riddle. I could tell you it.
go
When's
for
a
it.
door not a door?
Don't know.
When it's a jar. Oh, I love it. It
Classic.
got us into a Comic Con whenever Kathy was dressed as a Riddler because they shouted at Kathy, "Tell us a riddle," and she freaked out and remembered the one riddle I repeatedly tell all the time to everybody. It's my favorite riddle. I couldn't actually think of a single joke.
What's the mantra you live by?
Just get better. I actually was writing that down the other day. My and first ever mantra was "I'm great." You just run about shouting it, "I'm great, I'm great," and people will be like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Go and do it for 5 days and come back and complain then. And if you do it properly for 5 days and they're still going to complain about it, there's something fucking wrong with you." I believe it. I walk around. I tell myself it. It's why I get accused of being so egotistical so many times by people that aren't willing to put the work in. Like what gives you the, like, I remember being in a class and being asked in a kung fu class doing a seminar, and some of the guys were graded higher than me, and they asked me what gave me the right to come in and try to teach them when they've got a higher grade than I have. And I offered to fight the entire class in one go. Not because I thought I was fucking awesome and I could kung fu fight them like a movie. I offered it because I knew none of them would do it, because they knew how to look good in nice forms, but they didn't understand how to use it in real life. They never had real life experience, and they never were tested in any, like, battle tested. So I knew just offering them on, everyone would say no, and I was able to go, that's why I'm here teaching you, because I'm willing to use it, willing to try. You aren't. That's why I'm here. So the I am great thing was something that I believed it, and in order to believe it, I had to put the work in. I'm great at what? I'm great at this. Am I great at writing a book? Not now, but then, when it was all I focused on, I'm pretty good. Like now, I could probably write a pretty good book. But if I decided right now I'm writing a new book, I would become fucking great at that. And Ian would get the first phone call, and I'm like, right, this is it, let's go. Like whenever you ask me to write in your book, I switch it back on. I'm like, right, this is what I'm great at now. This is where the focus goes. This is what it is. So, just that was my first ever. Like you asked my wee sister about it, I used to just run about shouting it in the house all the time. I didn't even notice my neighbors could hear me. My sister was really friendly with the neighbor, and one day she asked her, like, "What the fuck is wrong? Your brother running about the house roaring. I'm great by himself. There's nobody else in the house. Just him on his own shouting it." And then just be better. I know I can always get better. My training, I go to the gym to get better. Like I was explaining to my group recently, I was injured at the start of this year. My back was injured, so I couldn't go to the gym for a while, and then I started back with real light work. And because I don't bring any ego into my training or my study, I started back at light weights, and I went up every week by about 2.5 kilos max. Even though part of me was like, say for a deadlift, for example, you could jump that up 10 or 20. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to stick to 2.5 because I don't want to be injured. I want to be better. I don't want to be fucking stupid. So working to be better at everything just meant that everything I was doing increased slightly, instead of like how most people seem to want to do it. They want to be the best immediately. So they're like, say you want to lose weight. What have you tried? Drop my calories down to 1,000 calories a day. Why did you do that? So I could lose weight. How did that work out? I did it for about 2 days. Thought I was going to die. Now I'm up to 3,000 calories a day, and I hate my life. You know, like that's because you did it stupid. Whereas if you did some research, looked into it, worked out what you needed, worked out what you were going to try to achieve, ask someone like myself that knows what they're talking about, you would have lost whatever weight you want. So just be better, like do better, be better. I think that would be superhuman, but that's a bit much for some people, but I believe it.
You literally have the t-shirt.
I have many t-shirts, which you'll see over the 12 sessions that we do, the many different t-shirts of Liam O'Neill.
That is now a challenge. You cannot turn up with the same t-shirt, so no pressure, big lad.
That's a challenge that Unfiltered Ink will love then, because they make my t-shirts. So they're like, so you need 11 more t-shirts? Let's fucking do it.
I love it. Love it. So I think we passed the 15-minute mark. So
yeah.
I think we'll maybe start to wrap up then.
Cool.
So key thing here is obviously people to get a copy of your book. I think probably the paperback is going to be the easiest, so that we can highlight, make notes, etc. It is also available in Kindle and also in Audible.
Yes.
That's the main place, the best place for people to go to get the book.
Amazon. Just Amazon will give you everything. That's the handiest way to do it. If you join my group, actually, now when I think about it, you get the audio and the ebook as part of your joining package. So
Brilliant.
I forgot about that there now. So do that. Join my group. Yeah. But Amazon, if you just want to get the book, Amazon has it everywhere.
Love it. So there's 12 chapters. We're going to be doing it over 12 weeks. and really, like I say, break it down chapter by chapter, make it super easy for people so people can follow along. It's not a, it really is it's a great read, and it's an easy read, and I mean that in a positive way. And listen, I encourage everyone to come along. So Liam, I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
And
Pete. That was a
thank you for your
pleasure.
time, and we appreciate it.
Cool.